Hello, everybody, and welcome to Lifting the Veil podcast with Mystery and Aha. Today, I would love to share more about this topic of the journey of becoming empty. So, a lot of the society imprint that we receive growing up is to do more in order to be more. So a lot of the creation of our careers, of our paths, of our stepping into our mission come through participating in universities, participating in apprenticeships, comes through participating in courses and certifications. And whilst that is completely valuable and valid, and I myself have a university background and loved my journey with academia, I also know and have very much been deepening the past 10 years of my life into the other side. So for me, like in society, there is this world of becoming someone. And becoming someone we do through doing certain things. And on the other side, we have the path of unbecoming. And this is really something that I have been deepening so much in through my path as a traditional curandera and tabaquera under the guidance of my maestro, a Kapanawa elder and wisdom carrier. And something that each Masterplant Diets, and for those who don't know what a Masterplant Diet is, it's an 8-day journey, sometimes a month-long journey, a year-long journey, depending on which states of initiation you're in. But it's a specific amount of time that you journey into being in communion with a specific plant spirit that you're dieting, and being on your own, mostly spending time in contemplation and healing and releasing and feeling whilst you're on a specific dietary protocol, which doesn't involve spices or fats, where you're not allowed to touch. So it's very much like a self-study. And I just come back from 5 weeks of Peru. It's been the first time ever away from my daughter and my family since she was born, and it was a very profound journey of unbecoming that I've undergone there. And I notice how much this journey of unbecoming and being empty leads to the unfolding of my highest Dharma and my highest destiny. So becoming empty is not only the most divine and nourishing revolution to the paradigm of becoming, but it is also for me the necessary return to my divine blueprint, to my original and innocent connection to the earth, to my ancestors, to myself, to God, and realizing that in that shedding of the identity, of the persona, of the mask, of the coping mechanisms, it enables and enhances my unique, innocent, and very alive connection with existence. So when I speak about unbecoming, I am also really being transported back to the ancient times of the mystery schools. Because in the mystery schools back then, in the days, the chosen ones of the elite, of the leaders, of the mystical priests and priesthood were initiated through the mystery school. And the mystery school had the initial approach of emptying them of what society has given to them, what society indoctrinated into them. And some of you that know my work already some years, know a bit longer, know about the work of the Mystery School of the Sacred Feminine that I birthed 5 years ago. And that was my main desire, of bringing the Mystery School work back, but this time not to the elite, but to those who feel the call to be reinitiated into themselves before the conditioning. And so the mystery schools are very similar to my path with the plant medicines, because both of them are about unbecoming. And I feel so intrigued and excited about this exploration of unbecoming, because I noticed that having done so much transformational work in my psyche, in my body, in my physical, and my energetic, and my emotional body, in my ancestral body, and my auric body, returning to a state that feels so, and it sounds stupid to say untouched of life, because I've been deeply touched and I've been deeply initiated and I've been deeply cracked open and torn open and sometimes really, gone through the mangle of dark night of the souls that just been so excruciatingly difficult, gone through spiritual initiations that left me feeling like a complete weirdo with no one to talk to. So I've been deeply touched by life, and yet my devotion to this path with the plant spirit communication through the Masterplant Diets have really enhanced my studies that come through first and foremost the mystery school teachings of the ancient sacred feminine. But I'm realizing how every spiritual path holds the same message for me, which is the return to the core. And one of my biggest prayers just for my recent journey of initiation in Peru was around really reclaiming a deep unsafety that I felt in the core of my being. And that deep unsafety came through an early childhood abuse and very repetitive, consecutive patterns of violent men that made me feel really deeply unsafe. And I feel the past 10 years on this path of plant medicine, I've been working through these layers, almost like working backwards through the timeline. And I've arrived to the stage of 5 years to 2.5 years, which I've dedicated my time to just recently in the diets. And it's so powerful to feel that cellular shift by meeting that terror that lived in the core of my being, which made me feel unsafe, which created everything that I thought I was, which created every mechanism and pattern and triggers. I created so much that wasn't genuinely true. It was just a trauma response. Not just because they're legit, you know, it's valid to have a trauma response. But I have such a deep intrigue and inquiry to go beyond the conditioning, to go beyond the safety net, the false safety net that we create around unsafety. And so coming back from this time of devoted study and unbecoming, I am realizing how it is so possible to be so deeply touched and initiated and shaken and intensely journeyed through life, and yet healing is possible. Healing of the intensity, of the unsafety, of the core woundings that we carry is possible. And that works for everyone different. For me, it works through an integrative approach of somatic and embodied therapy, of the work with the plants, and being able to share about the wisdom that comes through transforming my pain into medicine. So unbecoming to me means unbecoming the woman that feels she has to defend herself. Unbecoming means unbecoming the part of me that is guarded, disconnected, disassociated. Unbecoming for me means letting go of being a victim, letting go of false shame and guilt and regret. It means letting go of the responsibility of becoming someone, of projecting myself into what society perceives as this ideal of someone that made it in life. And unbecoming also means really letting go of any ideas of how I am supposed to be walking through this life, of how am I supposed to be loving and feeling and acting. Unbecoming means letting go of the concept that has been educated of how we should be and how we should not be. And whilst some common sense is probably very valuable, I also feel that total liberation really means going into that active and passive inquiry into who am I? And this is really like a question that sparked in me when I was on my first time in India when I was 18 years old. I sat on this beach and I was like, wow, I am not the story that I lived. I am not this body, because how can I remember so much wisdom beyond this life? I am not my achievements. I am not anybody that I ever really believed that I was. And it's such a tender and courageous and exciting exploration to go there, to return to the core, to return to the you that is untouched and yet deeply touched and initiated by life. Unbecoming for me means assuming self-responsibility. It means acknowledging that I am a sovereign being and my life is entirely woven into the divine destiny and how all of this unfolds. But my life is entirely in my hands. I get to choose which perception of reality, which lens I look at reality. I get to choose to fully reclaim myself prior to being hurt. Prior and acknowledging that I was deeply hurt. And I feel this is like the very exciting time spirit that I'm creating, co-creating with life, which is integrating how this experience has shaped me, what this experience has taught me, and yet not staying in the self-loathing tendency of accepting that this is the truth, that now I am this woman. And to me, this happened, and because of this happened, I can now create lots of excuses of how I'm not going to show up for life. I deeply believe in our sovereign ability to create the life of our dreams. I deeply believe in our ability to be able to return to the wisdom of our body. I deeply believe in being able to come back home in the oneness that opens as we remember the force of our spirit. I deeply believe in this journey of unbecoming. And I love when people ask me if I have what I share from a book or this person. Recently I got asked, oh, is this from Eckhart Tolle? Oh, is this from... And I'm like, no. It's my own lived experience. And yes, I've done courses in medicine wheel and shamanic modalities of learning how to work to give a safe frame through invoking and being with the shamanic spirit forces, whilst residing and returning ever so deeply into that space of emptiness. Emptiness of desire, emptiness of comparison, emptiness of these human attributes that do create suffering. And I am deeply human, and I do very deeply appreciate my human experience. And yet there is a part which is so exciting to explore and discover of what happens if I include my humanness, my humanity into my quest for spiritual oneness. And I often notice that the desire for anything that might be not contributing to unbecoming actually gets less and less and less the more I walk this path. Unbecoming is almost like returning back home, because from that place, true desire and true inspiration and true the divine spark that ignites in my hands comes and springs forth. I feel emptiness as a path of fulfillment. A fulfillment that comes from devotion and contemplation of life, of how our own existence is not separate from the world, and it definitely enhanced my leadership. Because by emptying myself of the experiences of this world, by healing the traumas that I experienced through walking on this earth, I am so receptive to the wisdom and the teachings that come through listening to the earth, to the birds, to the stones, to the fire, to the winds. I am so much more receptive by listening to the wisdom of the plants, to the elders, and to my womb. Because the more I undone of the layers that have been created, the armor that has been created around me walking through this life, the more receptive I have become to the sacred portal inside of me, my heart and my womb, feeling the pulse of Mama Nkuna, Mama Earth, feeling and being one with that divine spirit, great mystery infused oracle and guidance that happens daily. I feel grateful to this path that I call the path of unbecoming. I feel grateful for the people in my life that have dared to really immerse themselves into their own lived experience and have harvested that deep gold, that deep nectar, that deep wisdom that they're sharing out there through unstoppably, irreversibly going mad. Because becoming empty is really a crazy journey. It sounds so alluring or exciting, maybe the way I put it. But it's something that requires such a capacity to hold so many deaths. So many deaths of the people, the goals, the versions of yourself you thought were part of you. And it has been an ongoing shedding of what I am not, so I can be what I truly am. And I remember when all of this started, I really got rejected by some people around me. Oh, like, you're just trying yourself out and you're not how you were before. And there's such a urge to control in our society. It's like such a desire to feel safe and being able to find something reliable. This is why, you know, the 9-to-5 job works. This is why having, you know, a dog and a family and a lovely home works. Because it's a beautiful thing. And yet, many of these people have never dared to fully ask or question what they really would like. Because it's scary, because it challenges the status quo. And that challenge is something that initiated me over and over again. Of not like from a place of overindulgence into this question, but from a natural desire that comes from my mission here on this earth, to really go to the core and that is a very challenging and very, very beautiful journey. And the rewards are inner peace, a connection that can never be shaken to God, to yourself, to life, to your intuition, to your knowing. Going to the core means coming back home. To the home you always knew existed. To the home that you always felt in your bones. It's coming back home into the love that we all dream of. And it has given me such faith. And that is such a precious gift, to have faith. Faith into my capacity to meet life, into my strength to be torn apart and be receiving the wisdom from that. Not immediately, but when the time is right, I will receive the nectar. And in my specific case, I get to share it. And that is such an exquisite reward, to see that lived wisdom from my life empower and fuel others to really allow themselves to die and to let go. A lot of my work is really around being a midwife of the soul and helping my dear brothers and sisters to allow themselves to just be themselves, beyond the expectation, beyond the shame, beyond the guilt, beyond the narrative. To just let go. And it's not easy. There's deep work, repatterning on a somatic, on a mental plane needed. And it's possible. Okay, so this is some thoughts about the path of unbecoming, and also some nuggets that I have been integrating and crystallizing through the integration of my past 2 diets. Yeah, let me know how this resonated, if you have any questions. And know that if you're curious about Masterplant Diets, you can join me in the Amazon in December from the 5th to the 12th and the 14th to the 22nd. Under the guidance of me and my maestro, Josue Perez Rios, in the Peruvian Amazon. And join me during the autumn equinox from the 19th to the 25th of September in Spain for our dear, dear womb and soul initiation journey, the medicine womb. I'll reach out for private immersions and mentorships. Much love, and yeah, let me know what's been stirring from this episode from you. Much love.